I'm live, apparently. There's nobody here. That's fine. Such a busy chat today. Hello, Aspen. Yes, we are busy. I mean, I think ideally, I'm supposed to do more to, advertise this event. This is literally the first time I've streamed, outside of the premiere. So, oh no. Oh no, wait, what is the ad? Hello, Kira. I'm a little afraid, but, I do want to know. Uh, what they're trying to sell on my live stream. And yeah, I suppose that let me see, what am I gonna switch to? Yeah, we're just gonna hang out and see whether this works, whether people come in here. Not everybody is obsessively on time like me, so I thought I would also prepare a filler topic, which oh wait, I should probably pin a comment. Today, okay, one second, y'all. I'm pinning a comment. Today we are learning about the philosophy of ignorance. And I'm gonna pin that. Great. I'm Googling best practice for live streamers. Pin a message about what you're doing. Um, good evening and welcome. So why don't I open the floor to my filler topic that we can chat about as people come in. I mean, how are you guys doing, I guess, first of all? Let me know. And in the meantime, we can also talk about, wait, all right, is this gonna work? Apparently, Hank Green using AI to write his videos, because I was like, well, that's buzzy and also related to science communication. Um, have any of y'all heard this? Any of y'all three, whoever's in this room? Uh, let's see. Yeah, I will. Concurrent viewers, 14. So, I mean, there's 14 people here. Again, I'm new, I'm fresh at streaming. Um, but yeah, this popped up on my Instagram today, and I was like, I mean, fully, well, I don't want to heard, haven't heard that, but not surprised. Yeah, hello. Welcome. We are starting with some distractions and light conversation about possibly the world's famous YouTube science communicator, apparently using AI to write his videos, which I found out about today. Turning that off. That was my alarm to take my pills, but I already took my pills. Oh wait, I realized I should probably also record this. Okay, we're all good. Yeah, I mean, okay, does anybody not know who Hank Green is? Let me engage with my audience, and I'm gonna say poll option. One second. Uh, uh, ooh. Okay, here's a poll about Hank Green. Um, to figure out, yeah, okay, yeah, that's what I also heard. He put out some error riddled video. Um, I've definitely enjoyed some Hank Green videos in the past for those who have not spent as much time on pandemic world Twitter as I may have in the past, or have read Hank Green's recent book about tuberculosis. Apparently, he wrote this book where he's like, everything is tuberculosis, which, if, well, we're gonna get more into airborne stuff, but if you've watched my recent history, you know tuberculosis and the history of the science of tuberculosis is really connected to the ongoing pandemic and public health institutions ignoring science. So a lot of people have apparently tried to engage Hank Green in conversation about how tuberculosis relates to this and is related to the ongoing ignoring of airborne stuff, and he will not talk to anyone about it. Um, oh, it was his brother who wrote the TB book. LOL. this is where I reveal that I'm this is where I reveal that I'm not a Vlogbrothers fan. I apologize for the inaccuracy. I promise that the other information that I will share today is more accurate than my conversation starter about the Vlogbrothers. Um yeah, yeah, I'm like, oh yeah, there's two of them. The other one is the one that wrote the book. In any case, yeah. So I also this is my this is for me to brag and be like, yeah, AI didn't write this incredible dialogue that you're hearing right now. And I didn't use AI to use for this presentation or what follows. Um, and hello there, Lucas. Yeah, we are okay. Lala, did you read the TB book? Has anybody read John Green's TB book? John Green, who was a different person than Hank Green. Um, that oh, it was the okay. Was it about knitting? The one that he used AI. It's bad, and the last thing that I guess I want to say about this, okay, there's people who don't know who Hank Green is. That's nice. Like, genuinely, Hank Green is like a OG YouTube kind of science communicator guy. Um, anyways, so I just wanted to say, like, before I continue on, uh there's this like the level of dopamine I've been getting from interacting with okay, let me put this over here so it's not behind me, that I've been getting from interacting with LLMs is not healthy for me. Uh yeah, this is like this kind of like buzzy use of neurotransmitters that you kind of see where it's like this is not actually how dopamine works, and that kind of leads us well into the topic of ignorance. I also have ADHD, but I don't use LLMs to write things. Um, let's see. All right, I'm checking on the chat. I'm talking about Tom Hanks, stratospheric levels of confusion. Chloe, I love you that you don't know who Hank Green is because you like I mean that sounds really sarcastic. That's my wonderful friend who knows about beautiful things in the world and got sent me a lot of good info for this video for this live stream, and also like turned me onto this topic originally. And yeah, uh it's wonderful to not know who Hank Green is. um so why the hell is this banned on my screen? I'm sorry, it was a conversation starter, but now we are talking about ignorance on Canva. Oh wait, let me make myself a little smaller so I'm not in the middle of the screen. And hopefully you're here because the philosophy and sociology of ignorance sounds like an interesting thing to you. So this is very experimental, just like to start off. I haven't done a live stream like this before. We're gonna figure it out together. If I'm going too fast or if I'm boring you, let me know. If you have a question, obviously just say it. And if you like what we're learning, but like it's been too much and you want to just take a step back and like chat, ask some other questions about airborne science. I missed my finger there. One more time. Airborne science, pandemic science, public health stuff, anything, then we can shift to that instead. I may have planned more slides that make sense to get through in an evening. Yeah, the sense I've gotten about Hank Green as well is that he like doesn't really have a particular like ethical perspective of the world where he's like out there trying to change things for the better with the information that he's sharing. So, okay. Anyways, with that in mind, let me open up my timer. And how do I end this Hank Green poll? 1 second, please. 1 second. I think the poll is still going and I need to end it. End poll. This is the kind of professionalism that you can expect from me. Um, anyways, so, okay, actually, first, I gotta do another quick poll, which is going to be asking you all, and I'm gonna put it in here, 1 second. Also, what time zone are y'all's in? Because I don't know where anybody is, and it would be nice to know, like, where in the world roughly are you, and how early have I made you pay attention to this on a Saturday? And then I'm going to, uh, okay, start the poll. Airborne. Okay, Eastern NYC time. British Standard Time. That is only 1 hour behind me. It won't it won't let okay. It won't let me start this poll. Chicago. Chicago, I'm sorry that I didn't include you in the summary of times. I feel like Central Time is probably used to like you have to calculate it between the East and West, and sorry about that. Okay, Berlin time is also where I am, but I'm in Vienna. A cool thing that's happening right now is is that I can't add a poll. The option is just grayed out. So that's I'm gonna try again to do that. Um, have you seen? Okay. I spelled those words right. Okay, so really quick, I just wanted to see, like, have you seen the airborne history video that I released last month? Or not? If not, I would be really flattered that you would be here anyways, because I don't 100% like understand why you would be, but just we're just checking because we're gonna be relating the philosophy of ignorance to what was in there. Okay, we have 93% yes, show me the poll, 12%, 18%. So okay, poop in the air through the skylight. Yeah, basically, that's like a summary of it. So we got mostly people have seen it, but I can do a refresher if that would help. Start a poll. This poll says, no, not a Q&A. This is a really sophisticated system that I've mastered here. It's their British Standard Time in Glasgow. Hello from New Jersey. Hello, I went to New Jersey once as a child. That makes it sound like I didn't want to go back, but like I would, I just haven't had an occasion. So let's try a refresher. Also, I'm used to like teaching on Zoom. That's a job that I used to have. And this is different than Zoom, so please, I appreciate your patience, and we're gonna decide if we want an airborne refresher. Although, I guess, I don't know, you guys can also just tell me, like, do you feel like you totally remember airborne stuff, or do we want, like, a 2-minute summary of what we learned in that scenario? You're getting ads? Oh, no. Okay, wait, let me figure out how to turn that off. Okay, I found a button to delay ads. I think it was on some sort of auto setting. I apologize for that. I don't... Well, I'm learning. Okay, hopefully we're not getting ads anymore. Don't say the military word. You mean airborne? Okay. All right, we're gonna do a refresher. I think the numbers are growing up. So basically, if you haven't seen the video, or if you have seen the video and you forgot, many infections, respiratory infections, spread through the air through exhaled aerosols. Historically, this research has been ignored because of some goofy history of people being wrong in the past, and also because of the implications where if stuff spreads through the air, it kind of implies that there's a communal responsibility. What is... Oh, it's my Canva time. My Canva timer was making sounds that I could hear and you guys could not hear. Anyways, yeah, 2-minute summary. That's what we're doing. And basically, the World Health Organization, so historically this has been ignored. It was ignored when some really pioneering researchers did research about this in the 1940s. And then in the modern era, scientists really restarted research on exhaled particles spreading respiratory infections in the wake of the SARS epidemic in 2003, and they were like using all this computer modeling and genetic sequencing and all of this stuff to really show like, wow, this stuff looks airborne. And the World Health Organization and other public health organizations ignored them in ways that were really embarrassing and continue to ignore them. even as more scientists like jumped into this train and started being like, wow, we really need to learn more about this, all the way up to the start of the pandemic, when these scientists were like, hey, World Health Organization, we want to warn you because we think this might be airborne and your current precautions don't make sense. And the World Health Organization really, really ignored them, and it like kind of led to a lot of people dying. Which is embarrassing, and maybe why they still haven't talked about it. And that's like the 2-minute summary. Oh. My text was, oh, and the important thing about this is the shorthand for like this kind of goofy idea that things are not airborne is the droplet dogma, because in the past there was this insistence that respiratory infections could only spread from big droplets that you spit out of your mouth. And so droplet dogma is like the shorthand for all of this nonsense. Anyways, so, okay, let's remind ourselves of the bullshit. I'm pretty sure I'm allowed to curse here. Yeah, let's see, worth it for new people. I don't know how many, okay, so, sorry, wait, after that summary, do we have questions? Do we have questions about the summary of like, can I refresh anything about the droplet dogma or airborne spread or like the current state of airborne stuff before we like really like laugh and also sigh at the same time at some stuff the WHO has said, and then use it to talk about philosophy, which I have learned a lot about thanks to my friend who's very smart and is a philosophy professor. Yes, basis for the 6-foot rule. Yes, okay, that's good. And also something I should have pointed out. Thank you, Kira. Yeah, this droplet dogma is the basis for this idea that you should stand 6 feet or 2 meters away from somebody, and that's going to protect you from respiratory infections. And what we talked about in the last live stream that I talked about in the video is that this is not enough. Being farther away from somebody will probably reduce your chances of getting infected because little infectious particles are more concentrated when they first go out of our mouth and then they spread out, and infection can depend on the dose. So being closer to someone gives you a higher chance of like getting an infectious dose, but depending on air currents and how many people are in the room and all sorts of things, infectious doses of particles can still go very far distances or stay floating in room air for hours and hours. So that 6-foot 2-meter rule was never enough. Yeah, are there air quality standards anywhere? Not really. Well, indoor air quality, there are outdoor air quality standards, but not indoor ones. So that's kind of what we're fighting for and why we're talking about this ignorance today. But I'm gonna start by reminding you guys, okay, was anybody here in the last live stream? I'm gonna make a poll because that might help. I'm like, I wonder if, no, don't have ADHD. Yes, no. Last live stream. The reason I'm asking about it is because in the last live stream, I talked about this terrible letter from the World Health Organization, which was one of the most infuriating things I've ever read in my life. And all right, there's a poll. I know what I'm doing. Okay, all right, cool. Hi, Clean Air Communications. Yes, hard to forget. Yeah, so basically I talked in the last live stream about this terrible letter that was sent from the World Health Organization to the scientists who were being like, hey, please pay attention to airborne spread. And it included such bangers as, it is not possible to quantify the fraction of microdroplets potentially generated during coughing, which is likely to be low. Which, to translate this to plain English, is like, it's impossible to know if people are producing little droplets or aerosols when they cough. And it's also impossible to count how many they're producing. And even if we could count them, it probably wouldn't be that many. Which, like, is that true? Based on what I've said, is it true? This statement. If we were in a Zoom class, I would be like, Send me a thumbs up or a thumbs down, guys. I probably need to think of a better way. Last video. Yeah, no, it's not true. This is BS. So this is like, this was sent by the World Health Organization to scientists who literally sent them research showing that this is not true. Like, scientists sent them research saying, hey, here's how you count droplets. And also, when people cough, it produces a lot of them. So, it's the maturity level of a 12-year-old. Yes, it is. Anyways, so this kind of BS is what got me thinking about ignorance. Because, like, what do you mean the premier World Health Organization of the world is sending this to scientists who literally sent them evidence to the contrary? And it reminded me of this book quote that I saw later. So, I'm going to read this. Infection control experts love to argue that no number of experiments can verify a theory about airborne transmission, but they also know how to hammer away at the language of a claim until it falls to pieces. On the question of demonstrating harms, the WHO's standards for proof are so high that nothing in this world could satisfy them. Which is like, yeah, I see some hearts. I'm like, wow, it's so good to see this written out, because literally, like, this is exactly what's happening. And to go, this is my old teacher method to hide things so that we don't read it all at once during a live PowerPoint, is I put a box over it. So this is more context of that. This is the quote. This is the section that horrible quote came from, where they're basically like, oh, we reviewed the evidence that you cited, which wasn't peer-reviewed, which, like, it wasn't peer-reviewed because it was an emergency and the virus had only existed for a few months and there hadn't been time for peer review. So we reviewed your studies that weren't peer-reviewed, and they found some fragments of the virus, but there wasn't any live virus found, and, like, it's impossible to count droplets anyways. So to me, I'm like, wow, this is exactly, they're being like, you can't verify airborne transmission, and any evidence that you have doesn't count, and our standards are really high. Where was that from? We're gonna get, well, is the question, where is the book quote from? Or is the question, where is the WHO letter from? Because the WHO letter is from, okay, if you guys want me to, I can, like, release this PowerPoint as a PDF later, because there's links for everything. Are we learning about mesology today? I don't actually know what that word means. Heal XO, if you could tell me. Okay, Kira, I'll release it. Sure. All right. So, okay. So I was like, damn, like, this really describes this bullshit where they're like, we looked at your studies and it's not enough. And I have one more quote I want to show to them, which is, additional research is required to understand specifically the aerosolization of SARS-CoV-2 during coughing and breathing in clinical settings to provide better understanding of the level of risk of transmission of SARS-CoV-2 via spread of infectious microdroplets. And, like, this is so annoying because, like, people were dying, and then this matched so well with another book quote, which said, the book quote, oh yeah, no, we're about to talk about where the book quote is from. Another book quote that says, calls for more research on airborne transmission have served as an effective stalling tactic. The strong evidence of airborne transmission is denied using the pretense of a quest for rigor as a trick to delay action. Which is like, damn, this is like a really smart way to describe the situation. However, I lied. This book quote is from 2008, and I changed the words in bold, and the original quote is, calls for more research on climate change have served as an effective stalling tactic. The strong evidence of global warming is denied using the pretense of a quest for rigor as a trick to delay action. Here's the other original quote. For the first one, again, I changed it to infection control experts, and this said, The tobacco industry loves to argue that no number of experiments can verify a theory, but they also know how to hammer away at the language of a claim until it falls to pieces. And on the question of demonstrating harms, the industry's standards for proof are so high that nothing in the world could satisfy them. So, this is from, okay, make sure it's in the box. This book, AKA, I made a slide of it so that I don't have to hold it up to the camera. This is from this book called Agnotology, The Making and Unmaking of Ignorance, which is from 2008. And when I read these quotes about tobacco and realized that you could just replace tobacco industry or climate change deniers with World Health Organization or infectious disease specialists, and it 100% applied, I was like, what? Like, excuse me? And then I read the book because I had to. Because literally how did these statements apply just as much to the tobacco industry as the World Health Organization? And for that reason, today, we're going to learn about the main concepts from agnotology, the making and unmaking of ignorance, because I have found these helpful in trying to understand and conceptualize the bullshit mess that we're in, which is why we're doing philosophy today. That was the introduction to this lesson. Mesology is related to, yeah, okay. So, okay, excellent. Great. We've got that. This is not important enough for a poll, but if you liked my trick, if you liked it when I did a little tricky hee hee ha ha and showed you the changed quote and then revealed it was actually old, please tell me, because I was really proud of that, but I didn't know if it would come across. But I was like cackling to myself. I was like, I'm going to change the quote and then I'm going to give it to them and be like, this was really about tobacco. These are the things that I'm doing for fun by myself. So, okay. So let me, thank you. It was so clear, Chloe. My jaw dropped. Thank you. This is what we're trying to. If anybody has only just got here, I have just revealed that you can take quotes that are about the tactics of climate change deniers or the tactics of the tobacco industry in, oh, I should get rid of this. The tactics of the tobacco industry in combating evidence that smoking causes lung cancer, and you can change the words tobacco industry and airborne disease, tobacco industry and tobacco or climate change, and change them to be about the World Health Organization and airborne disease spread, and the quotes literally apply, which means that we have to investigate more about the how and why of the World Health Organization using the same tactics as the tobacco industry, because clearly something is really broken there. But first, I have to make another poll. I'm like, maybe if you're a bigger YouTuber, oh, I think I just lost like 10 viewers. That's fine. If you don't like philosophy, that's okay. I like learning about philosophy. Really quick, we're doing a vocab check to check if I need to do just like a real quick refresher. And this poll is, I know what epistemology is. This is a word that I feel like you've heard. Well, I feel like you've heard this word and you don't know what it means. You've heard this word and you know what it means. You've never heard this word. You don't need to know what this word means, but like I need to talk about it for 1 minute potentially. Yeah, okay, we gotta know. Yeah, I mean, okay, we're gonna spend exactly 1 minute on epistemology. This is a word that like, yeah, we're gonna spend 1 minute on epistemology, to say that epistemology, which you don't really need to know, is the philosophical study of knowledge and its connected concepts. So this is an old philosophy. This is something people have been thinking about for thousands of years, and it asks questions like, what is knowledge? How do we know things? What is true? How does who we are affect what we know? And this kind of stuff. And we might need 3 minutes. That's potentially true. Basically, this epistemology can ask all different kinds of questions about how we know things, and some kinds of formal epistemology are like formal logic about if I know X, then I can know Y, which I will be fully honest is like very opaque to me and also not interesting and not really something I've read much on because I don't really care. What I'm more interested in is the idea of like feminist epistemology, which, if you've ever heard of positionality, this is like the idea that who we are affects how we know the world and how we think of things, which I think kind of has like trickled down, especially through like by the time that I was like a teen on Tumblr, I was seeing lots of information about that. And it's a much more common idea than it once was. But this is something that like really only started, I feel like, don't quote me on this because I could be bullshitting, but like was coming more to the foreground in like the 80s and 90s. Yeah, it is why you need women's studies, because who you are affects how you know things and the things that are important to you. And it also affects, it also affects what we don't know. Because agnotology, which was only invented as a word in 2008 for this book, is, okay, Canva, is the opposite of epistemology. So instead of being the study of knowledge, it's the study of ignorance, of why don't we know things? How do we not know things? How does who we are affect what we don't know? Just got another ad. Oh no. Wait, let me pause it again. Oh shit. How do I pause the ads permanently? No, I think there's like a way to change the ad. There's like a button that I can press and then it pauses it for 10 minutes, but then it doesn't, but then I have to pause it again. And I don't know. I'm very sorry. I just need to keep remembering to pause it. Yeah, you probably can't turn them off forever. I'll just keep pausing it, and if an ad comes up, just tell me and I'll turn it off. Or I'll pause it again. So anyways, what we need to know about epistemology is that it's the study of knowledge. It's very ancient. And agnotology, the idea of saying, wait, what about ignorance? This is new. This is newer, although it's like, since it was proposed, this word in 2008, this has expanded a lot, and that's what we're going to dive into. So we're going to talk about different ideas of ignorance. You can turn an ad on 2x speed. Excellent. Yeah, it's probably in shitification. Okay, so we're going to talk about the concepts of ignorance that are outlined in this book, Agnotology, from 2008. Could somebody give me an example of ignorance? Like, there are a few different types of ignorance we're going to talk about, which, like, to be clear, is not an exhaustive list. This is just a framework to try to understand it. And I want to get some ideas of, like, what's an example of ignorance out there? And to go behind the scenes of my teacher brain, I want somebody to suggest something that aligns with the first concept of ignorance that we're going to talk about. I wonder if uBlock blocks ads. Not Creechy. Yeah. Yes. No, we don't teach critical thinking, and there's a lot of money in deception is definitely something that we're going to get to. But yeah, I don't know. This is the moment where if we were doing a Zoom class, I would be like, somebody raise their hand, and then I'd be like, tell us an example of ignorance. Again, if you just got here, I did used to teach business English on Zoom. Which is not something like I talk about a lot. It was just really hard to find any kind of work when you graduate as a person with chronic health issues and disabilities in a pandemic, and you're like, well, fuck, what am I gonna do? It's not safe for me to just go like work at Barnes and Noble or something. So yeah, I used to teach business English on Zoom and Teams, which actually informed a lot of Lola Germ's science work because it taught me to be better at teaching. Okay, specific ignorance. Okay, Lucas, thank you for some examples of ignorance. Lucas says, one specific type is a study I took part in. I had to mark that I do want to know the results, and I could opt out to not know them, as I have a right to be ignorant to my genetic failings. Yes. Ooh, that's really interesting, and that's actually like an example of virtuous ignorance, potentially, where like not knowing something is a kindness, which I didn't even make a slide about today because it was too far there. But that's virtuous ignorance, which we're not talking about potentially. Lena, epistemic injustice. Okay, yes. I actually wanted to make a slide about epistemic injustice today, but then I was like, there's already 30 slides. Um, so slavery, people think slavery was abolished in the US. Okay, that's true. That is an example of ignorance that I'm not sure what type it would fit in, but yes, slavery is like legal with prisoners in the US, like people who are imprisoned in the penal system, which is the largest in the world, can work for basically no money. Anyways, um, you did bring a positive example. Thank you, Lucas. You literally brought in virtuous ignorance. So, anyways, so we're gonna wait. Londa has a paper on why mammals are called mammals. Oh, wait, I can't. So one of my off-duty special interests is mammal phylogeny and trying to understand how all mammals are related to each other. And like at like midnight I'll be like reading like the Wikipedia article about beavers or whatever. But yeah, I can't start talking. Thank you for telling me about this article about why. So to be clear, somebody said Heel said something about Londa Schiebinger, who's one of the authors of agnotology, writing an article about why mammals are called mammals. I really want to read that, but I can't talk about how mammals are related to each other right now because then we're never gonna do anything. But if you guys ever want to do it like a game where like I'll be like, tell me three mammals, and then I'll tell you how those mammals are related to each other. That's something that I would do for fun. Um, yeah, okay. Sorry. We're gonna move forward to this first concept of ignorance, which is the idea of ignorance as a native state, which is kind of the traditional idea of ignorance. We don't know something because we haven't found this knowledge yet. This is there's like a void of ignorance to be filled with knowledge. And I thank you for saying that, Hellbones, thank you for saying that it sounds like fun to play a game where people give me mammals and then I tell you how the mammals are related. This is something that like in my head, in like a fantasy version of my head, I'm like at a bar, which is like I don't go to a bar because of the COVID thing, but yeah, I'm like, yeah, if I went to a bar, I would tell people to tell me mammals and then I would tell them how they were related. And people would think that was a really cool, and this is just like the most autistic social fantasy in the world. Um, Okay, you deserve to have fun on this channel. Thank you. Well, I also want to learn. Okay, so if we finish the PowerPoint, we can talk about how mammals are related. For people who are new, I have no idea when people are coming in and out. I don't know how to monitor this. We're talking about the first idea of ignorance. We're gonna look at examples of things we didn't used to know to explain this type of ignorance, which is just not knowing things, the most classic idea. We didn't used to know that those sparkly things in the sky are stars and planets. And we didn't used to know that our planet and others revolve around the sun, which is a star. We also didn't used to know that the average distance between the Earth and the moon is 384,000 kilometers. And we didn't used to know the iron concentration of lunar soil, which is apparently this. This is the iron oxide versus aluminum oxide concentration of moon soil. We didn't used to know this, but now we do. We didn't. Oh, wait, this is one we don't know. We don't know the long-term effects of lunar low gravity on the bone density of mice because there have never been mice on the moon. So as you can see, all of these different former ignorances kind of lead into each other. And this sort of goes with the idea that this classical view of ignorance is a resource to us, and it's something that actually powers science because we never run out of this ignorance. And for each question that we answer, we have we have two more. Go back to, thank you. We have two more. So this ignorance, this classic idea that like we just don't know something because we haven't discovered it yet. This is ignorance as a native state. And that we're not going to talk about it anymore because it's, well, I mean, I guess actually we can think of some examples. So I would say, like, for example, when people first started falling ill with a mysterious atypical pneumonia in late 2019 in China, we didn't know what was causing it. And that would be an example of ignorance as a native state related to the COVID-19 pandemic. And like if anybody wants to, the Lucas said, yeah, the moments where holes in my knowledge or experience are plugged or fixed are some of our most cherished moments. I think I also cherish those moments, and I think that also having an appreciation of what you still don't know is very important. Because not everybody has that, but like understanding what you do know versus what you don't know, and as a result, like where you need to learn more, and then also, this is not aimed at any of y'all, but like where maybe you don't have the enough knowledge to have an informed opinion is something really important that a lot of people are lacking. So we can't know everything, but some people choose not to learn anything. Yes. So this is the idea of ignorance as a native state. This is like the most traditional idea of ignorance, and we're honestly not going to talk about it anymore because it's kind of obvious, and we're interested in the constructed forms of ignorance. But we needed to get this out of the way. So now we're going to talk about the construction of ignorance, because that's where we start to really get into the philosophy. I just threw this book from one hand to it. I don't know if you guys saw that because my window might have been too small, but I could have thrown the book into the ceiling, the stand fan. Excuse me. There's a fan right here, and hopefully you can't. Please, I'm using noise reduction, noise suppression in OBS so that you hopefully don't hear that there's like 3 fans going in here because it's 86 degrees in here, as you can see according to my Aeronet. I mean, I don't know, maybe don't tell me if you can hear the fan. So we're going to talk about the construction of ignorance, starting with passive. Actually, no, I kind of want to do a poll because I'm curious. I can hear that. I can hear your fan. One of the issues with me as a streamer, and then also as me as a teacher of business English on Zoom, is that I'm a horrible typer. I just suck real bad at typing. And so I would kind of have to like play it as a joke that teacher is typing really slowly and making lots of errors. Okay, we can't hear the fan. OBS noise suppression is working. Thanks, OBS. That heartens me. Anyways, yeah, I was, okay, business English, teaching English to adult learners is also very much like a scammy industry, and I was teaching English to adult learners in a country in Eastern Europe of which I am a citizen, so it was like it was not colonizer stuff, to be clear. Anyways, so, passive construction. Lola, get on track. Ad's playing, time for mute. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry about the ad. We will take a moment and I will be quiet. Okay, so we're learning things. Okay, we're back. Hi, sorry about the ad. Thank you for the reminder. Still kind of light outside. Okay, ignorance as passive construction is kind of about what are the questions that we ask and what do we actually research, because inquiry is selective. If I study one thing, that means there are 10, 20, 1,000 other things that I am not studying. Which hence the passive, because I am being active in studying one thing, that means passively I am not studying another. Oh, my audio is messed up. Okay, let me fix. One sec. Your YouTube is not receiving enough video to me, says. Okay. One second. Okay, wait. Stream is lagging now. Yeah, YouTube is telling me that streaming is lagging. Let me open a widget. Stream health. Well, okay, well, why is it not receiving enough videos? Probably because I have terrible fucking Austrian internet. Um, uh, da, 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 da. One moment, please. Maybe I will. Your YouTube is not. Yeah, so it fixes if I back it up 10 seconds. It would be great if I knew what to do in this situation. Um, just lagging every few seconds. Um, I'm like, if I refresh my tab, will that end the stream? I don't know because I didn't look it up before. Um, let me let me Google what I'm supposed to do, and I'm just gonna keep talking stream of conscious style so you can tell me if it gets better. Live stream YouTube error, YouTube not receiving enough video. A bit rate, okay. I Wait, I think I fixed it. Chat, did I fix the live stream? We're about to find out. We're about to find out if I fixed the live stream. Chat. Chat, did I fix it? So, what did you do? LOL. What I did was I went to OBS and I pressed stop streaming and it gave me two options, and one of the options was a plain stop streaming, and then the next option was stop streaming parentheses discard delay. And so I clicked on that. And then I clicked start stream again. And now it's working. So I guess it was an OBS issue, question mark. OBS sacrificed a flock camera for us. Thank you. Yeah, I will say that, like, the flock cameras, okay, getting distracted for a second. The flock camera discourse and conversation has been, like, really interesting for me to see as somebody who is from the United States, but I haven't, like, it's been 4 years since I left. And so there's just like a whole era of stuff that I have only experienced as like somebody from the outside looking in. Uh, which is a whole sort of things. I do think you should sacrifice a flock camera if you can find one, like just in case. Okay, and then I'm gonna try to get back on track. I was gonna like do a summary to be like, hey, if you just got here, this is what we're doing, but definitely people have only left because I don't know how to stream. Um, so in this case, I'm just gonna keep going. Okay, so passive construction of ignorance. To remind us all, we are talking about, oh no, wait, let me switch back. Let me switch back to, my PowerPoint. Yeah, so passive construction of ignorance. So we learned about the kind of OG concept of ignorance, which is just stuff that we don't know yet because we don't know it. And this is the ignorance that drives science because we always have new questions in response to any answer. Anyways, okay, so trying again. Passive construction. No, wait, start here. So passive construction of ignorance is the idea that, yeah, Germany, okay, we're not gonna talk about America versus Europe right now. But yeah, so basically, if we study one thing, that means we're not studying other things. And in some cases, if we don't follow one path of inquiry, that closes off other paths forever. And talking about passive construction is asking, why are certain questions asked and not others? Like, what biases do people have when they're asking questions? And an airborne example would be, if you're already convinced that all transmission is caused by droplets, you're not really going to be interested in promoting research or suggesting research that is based on other hypotheses. So yes, if anybody tries to say that science isn't if anybody, sorry, let me just repeat that. If anybody tries to tell you that science isn't political, they have never thought critically about science in their life. And this can include, like, this can absolutely include, like, people who are literally scientists. Like, someone can be an amazing, impactful scientist and have never thought critically about science as this institution that exists in our society and is influenced by so many different streams coming from within the scientists themselves, of whether their own training or personal biases based on their position in society are affecting the kind of questions that they're asking, the people that they're interested in representing with the questions that they ask. Yeah, science is political, and a lot of people who work in science or consider themselves fans of science and like to say things like, just trust the science, trust the experts, really do not think that about how science is this like wobbly, messy, ongoing, overdetermined process where there's all of this stuff going on that means it is not straightforward. So yeah, that is how, so it's how I feel about that. So we have, okay, I'm not going to talk about this in detail right now, but maybe in the future. This is like a breakdown of, oh, I forgot one of them because I forgot to finish this slide. There's like subtypes of passive construction, and my friend Chloe shared this with me. We'll talk about these another time, and I'm going to talk about some examples of passive construction of ignorance. For example, let me say for example 3 more times. For example, for example, for example. Science is human like everything else. I guess I should also check the chat. You guys are so smart. Yeah. This is, oh yeah, passive construction of ignorance is also related to ME, like, very much. So anyways, okay, so here are some examples of passive construction of ignorance. Funding for myalgic encephalomyelitis, a neglected disease, research is limited, and so 3 studies are proposed, but only 1 study can be funded due to limited resources. As a result, the questions that were proposed by those other 2 studies do not get pursued, and that might affect which other questions about ME are posed in the future. Let's see. No, okay, I've gotta figure out a balance of like responding to the chat and like finishing a fucking sentence. Okay, so MDs, aka medical doctors, are encouraged to think of public health interventions within the framework of randomized controlled trials, which is the gold standard of evidence for medicine, but not everything else in society. And as a result, they might be thinking in the framework of randomized controlled trials when that's not actually the best way to investigate a situation, and leads to us not finding out things we could find out otherwise. Yes, and then hello, let me like multiply this box a million times. What did I just do? There we go. Okay, researchers are encouraged to pose questions that don't challenge power. And I have an example. No, now I'm gonna check. Now I'm gonna check the chat. There are people. Heuristic. The feeling of clarity. Okay. The feeling of clarity is not the same thing as clarity. Heal XO. You have so many beautiful. You have so much beautiful knowledge that you're bringing to this discussion. Yeah. This is true. It's not. If I need to look that up, and if you want to send me the link later, I would love to see that. Yeah. Incentive structure. Ooh, yes. Lucas, actually, my friend Chloe, who is a philosopher of science and who's the one who taught me about agnotology in the first place, has thought a lot and has taught me to think a lot about the incentive structure behind science, like what kind of research is incentivized by the academic publishing industry, like what kind of questions get asked, what kind of results are rewarded. One of the things that she's pointed out to me, I'm like, I don't know if it helps for me to write notes on the screen when I'm talking about stuff. I guess that's a teacher thing and not a live streamer thing, so I'll refrain from it. But yeah, so novel discoveries are important, but frankly, what's even more important is replicating those discoveries in science. Like, that is how we show that these things are actually probably true and valid, is by replicating the same results again and again. However, studies that look to replicate existing results are not very glamorous or exciting, and they're not the kind of thing that's rewarded with money or attention within science. And so as a result, the existing incentive structure within academic publishing is leading to not enough actual replication, which is how we get the replication crisis, in which when people actually went to go back and try to replicate things later, it turns out that a bunch of like contemporary studies might be bullshit. This is like, I'm talking about psychology and stuff. Anyways, yes, please send me the link. We got, can you put your face? Oh, wait, to the left. Yes, so sorry about that. That makes sense. Nope, that was wrong. Lola. Okay, I put my face more in the corner. How's that? Okay, so yeah. Anyways, I wanted to share an example of this kind of passive ignorance. Remember, passive ignorance. I'm trying to repeat things because I'm remembering this is a live stream. Passive ignorance is the kind of ignorance that is constructed because we ask certain questions, and by following one path of questions, that means that many other paths are ignored. And it also affects the kind of questions that are possible to ask in the future. Sorry for putting my face in a random place. Okay, so this is an article that I really love. I can link you guys. The link is here in the PowerPoint. This is an open letter, Beyond Behavior as Individual Choice, a call to expand understandings around social science and health research. This is a banger. And I feel like this really falls into the passive construction of ignorance, even though the authors of this themselves don't use this language or talk about agnotology. Is it passive if intentional funding choices are made? Well, Kiara, that's a good question. This is a good question. These different types of constructed ignorance can kind of blur into each other. So it's not always like a one or the other. But yeah, is somebody thinking, wow, this won't get funded, so I'm not going to ask it? Maybe that's a bit more active, and it will fit in what we'll talk about next. Or is somebody just existing in a place where they have only been trained to think of the kind of questions that is stuff that would get funded and approved of within current power structures? And then it's more passive. I don't know. It's not exactly black and white. Is Emma Sachs related to Oliver Sacks? I probably not. I don't know. Passive ignorance and childhood fatigue scales in ME/CFS studies. Ooh. This is that's a good question. So these are like outdated forms. So these basically like Fukuda criteria and childhood fatigue, these would be examples of like ways to measure like fatigue or tiredness or whatever that don't actually apply to ME, and is using those as passive or active ignorance. Chloe, if you're here, do you want to let me think about that for a second? Actually, no, I should probably respond to what's in the chat versus being like, I have to follow my PowerPoint. I like, it might depend on the situation and like what those people know. To be clear, I'm not an expert on agnotology, and I would never present myself as such, and I guess I'm also kind of being like, yeah, that's a question. You know what, Lucas? Okay, Chloe's like, 1 sec, she's gonna think about it. But yeah, y'all might have questions that like, I don't know the answer to. In which case, I'm gonna note them down, and I'm gonna try to find the answer later, because I am also like learning with you. I'm gonna like copy and paste the question in here. Or I'm gonna copy and paste the entire chat at once, apparently. Thank you. Something's wrong with my mouse. Okay, we'll find it later. Somebody DM me this question. But anyways, yeah, so this is, I just wanted to read some banger quotes because I really love this article. A sole focus on behavior shaping, individually or collectively, ignores behavioral and social science contributions that illuminate how structural factors and social hierarchies constitute lives of individuals and communities within which behaviors derive their meaning and relevance. Focusing on behavior as the only effective location to affect change fails to appreciate that most public health problems are interconnected to and nested within layers of health systems challenges, layers of health system challenges stemming from social and political contexts. So yeah, this is a banger quote, and I recommend you somebody thank you, Alred, that I'm probably in the top 99.99% of people who know about agnotology. Yes. Yeah, sure. But the people who know more know a lot more. So yeah, this is, oh wait, okay, I want to see what are people's comments. It's passive intentional. Is it passive ignorance? Path dependence, where so many resources have been put into one thing that's harder. Oh, so Lena, the idea of path dependence, where so many resources have been put into one thing that it's harder to move away from it, I think is also covered by the idea of passively constructed ignorance. Like Proctor definitely talks about that idea in this book. Like he talks about if questions have been posed in this one way and funding has been put in this one direction, that can close off the possibility to move in other directions in the future. So path dependence and passively constructed ignorance are not necessarily mutually exclusive concepts. And thank you for bringing in, yeah, other exciting things. American culture has an obsession with individualism and rewards. Yes, it does. So anyways, passive construction, I just wanted to give you all a second before we move on to active construction to we're going to talk about the passive construction, to either answer the question, why would researchers pose questions that ignore systemic issues? Or just do we have questions, thoughts, examples of passive construction of ignorance? Because actually, let's think of airborne examples. Hello class, let me give you a few seconds, with what we know about airborne spread of diseases or long COVID or ME, can we think of can we use our critical thinking skills to come together and think of take a second, type it out. What are some examples of passive constructions of ignorance? And I'm going to try to copy them into the I'm going to try to copy y'all's examples into the PowerPoint in a way where I don't copy and paste the entire chat at the same time. Anyways, path dependency, yes, is also a huge issue in climate and energy topics. Aurel is my friend and acquaintance in clean air advocacy who also knows a lot about climate energy. So sorry, maybe that's maybe I shouldn't be oh, this person in the chat is somebody that I know, and let me tell you about them. But yes, let's just be oh, this person knows a lot about climate and energy, which I don't. But there are a lot of parallels between climate climate advocacy, issues of trying to advocate for ending use of fossil fuels that are very relevant and give us lessons about how to advocate for indoor air quality. So it's very cool to connect with people who know more about climate policy. Okay, let's see. Okay. I'm sorry that I'm leaning. Wait, actually, no, wait, I can put the chat right here. I can put the chat right here. Chat. I moved the chat closer to chat. Chalder. Okay, so Chloe says the Chalder fatigue scale was constructed by ME controversializers to support their theory, so it's definitely a case of actively constructed ignorance, which is good to know. And the idea of a actually, let me cite my friend Chloe, who taught me about agnot. Okay, what am I typing? Oh, I'm typing little black letters at the top of this. I was like, what the hell is going on? Contested versus controversialized illness. So there's like an idea that will be floated around that some illnesses like ME are contested, being like people don't agree if this is real or not. And my friend Chloe, who is in the chat, said, who I feel like is fine if I say that she's in the chat, has instead said that we should talk about these as controversialized illness, because this is constructed, because there is tons of scientific evidence out there supporting the idea that ME is a biological illness, but despite that, there are still a lot of people out there making noise and being like, it's in their heads, this is a psychosomatic whatever. And so instead of saying this is contested, saying that it's controversialized highlights the extent to which there's like an active construction of ignorance. And this is from, Chloe wrote a blog post about this that I can link somewhere later. Okay, so anyway, so we have decided that, let me take some notes. We have decided that, Jesus. Okay, now you guys can see how bad I am at typing. We have decided that Fukuda criteria and Chaucer thing are active construction. I have to put this is like for my own, what the hell is happening here? Okay, so like I think my keyboard and my mouse and everything is broken. Construction of ignorance because controversializers. Okay, so I'm so far behind in the chat. Okay, Lucas, Chloe, I'm like, where can I go? Okay, Aurel, danke. Okay, yeah, universities can make money if they turn a problem into a profession instead of educating people and empowering them to solve the problem. It's true. Early study in 2020, where N95s, they put them on and took them off 6 feet away from patients. Is that an example? Is that an example of passive? I'm not sure if that would be passive construction because it's not about not ask. Well, but they're asking the wrong questions. It could be. I'm not sure. We have to examine it farther and move into the idea of active construction of ignorance. Okay, menstrual issues are ignored, not tested because researchers. Yeah, HealXO. This is totally right. This I feel like would be a good example of passive construction. Why every time I try to copy something, it just copies the whole chat? Also, though, like what I'm learning is that I really need to buy a new mouse, everybody. My mouse isn't working anymore. Okay, so yes, all right. It's in the chat. I can update my notes later. Yeah, there are absolutely menstrual issues that are not tested because those kinds of questions haven't been asked before. Climate deniers have a huge influence in the way scientists speak. Messaging that COVID was spread via droplets and close contact, so they really didn't look into whether it was airborne. Ren, yeah, that's right. That's totally passive construction. If somebody's already told us that this, actually, there were some quotes in the terrible WHO letter from earlier where the WHO was like, well, responding to the airborne scientists who were trying to say, you need to investigate this farther. The WHO was saying, well, the CDC and the European disease, whatever, they've already said that it's probably droplets. So that's evidence for us to not investigate further. So anyways, okay, so we're gonna move the hell on to the active construction of ignorance, because I want to make sure that we can like get to all of the juicy good stuff. Wait, I feel like I have to pause the ads. Okay, I paused the ads. Again, yes, yeah, climate. Okay, the idea that the WHO didn't know. HealXO. That's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about the active construction of ignorance, because did they actually not know? Anyways, we're getting real meat of the matter. The active construction of ignorance is the idea that when sometimes ignorance or doubt or uncertainty is made or maintained or manipulated by people who don't want you to know things. And obviously, this is something that kind of sounds like, paranoid thinking. It's literally the idea of like, they don't want you to know this. But the thing is, there are lots of examples of that. There are lots of examples of people not wanting you to know things. And we know that, for example, from my earlier example, let's say example 3 times, of the tobacco industry, who worked for decades to prevent the public from understanding that smoking was linked to not only to lung cancer, but mouth cancer, like all of these cancers. They worked very hard to not let people know that. We know that BP, I think, don't quote me on the date, but like basically knew that climate change was happening for sure in the 70s and worked very hard to keep that knowledge from spreading. So the tobacco industry, for example, we knew that they feigned ignorance of the hazards. They basically said, well, we haven't heard of any problems with smoking. I haven't heard that this could cause cancer, while at the same time affirming an absence of definite proof. That is, saying stuff like, well, there is no study that definitively proves that this does cause cancer. Well, this study here, that doesn't definitively prove that. And at the same time, doing all that it could to manufacture ignorance on the part of the smoking public. That is, publishing these advertisements that are like, my doctor recommends Camels or whatever, or Proctor talks about this more in agnotology, doing stuff like funding scientific journals and magazines where they would pay scientists and historians and people to write articles that produced doubt about whether smoking could cause cancer, and then kind of mix them in with unrelated articles to make it look like this is just a natural thing that people are thinking. State comparable. Okay. Let's see. Oh, no. Lola, finish the slide. Finish the slide. Wait. Okay, no. I did finish the slide. I'm gonna check the chat now. Exxon. Oh, Aspen. It could very well be Exxon that knew in the 70s, not BP. That's why I said don't quote me on this, because I don't know that one. I don't know that one for sure. Tedros in the early 2020s press conference. Yeah, we're gonna... Same thing. Yeah, same thing is happening with Roundup. We have these corporations, they're paying to make fake local newspapers, fake websites, and do this stuff. And so, if anybody wasn't here at the beginning of this really super fun live stream, I took a quote from agnotology here. Well, I showed you guys a quote that said, infection control experts love to argue that no number of experiments can verify a theory about airborne transmission, but they also know how to hammer away at the language of a claim until it falls to pieces. And on the question of demonstrating harms, the WHO standards for proof are so high, nothing in the world could satisfy them. And then I revealed that this is actually a quote about the tobacco industry. And so in the spirit of that, we're going to look at some specific parallels between the tobacco industry strategies and things that public health institutions have done. I hope you guys are excited. Mental illness. Oh yeah, drapetomania is a symptom. Okay, wait, let's round up. Well, hysteria mania is a symptom. Yeah, I mean, if anybody doesn't know, I'm not sure how to say this. Drapetomania was like a fake mental illness that was invented to be like, this is the reason that enslaved people would run away from slavery, because they're crazy. They have this crazy illness that makes them not want to be slaves. Okay. I'm gonna finish. All right, y'all. I'm gonna finish these parallels so that we can just chat, is what I'm gonna do. No, pay attention, Lola. Okay, so, here are some examples from the letter that the World Health Organization sent in 2020 to the airborne scientists who were trying to get them to look at the evidence to consider that COVID could be spreading through the air, and that as a result, maybe they should recommend better airborne protection measures. So the WHO said, first, it's not possible to quantify the fraction of droplets generated during coughing, even though this letter was in response to a letter they got from scientists who literally linked them to resources that told them how to quantify droplets created during coughing, and that actually coughing creates the highest number of droplets. So like this was feigning ignorance because they were sent that information. So the World Health Organization, we have them feigning ignorance, which is, so the question of Helix, so it was like, did the World Health Organization not know? They were sent that information. And then we see, okay, TDS, no, all right, gotta stop getting distracted. Okay, we also have the idea that the tobacco industry would feign ignorance while affirming absence of definite proof. So being like, well, you know, whatever you do have, that doesn't definitively prove that smoking causes cancer. I love you, my friend who's smoking. Smoking is bad for you, though. So this is the World Health Organization doing that. They say, there are many unknowns, and would there be evidence of SARS-CoV-2 as an airborne pathogen, we would immediately revise guidance, but there is no evidence. So they repeat this again and again. They say there is no evidence of airborne whatever, and being like, nothing is definite enough. And then, oh wait, I have to show you guys this. This was in the video. Okay, here's another one of affirming absence of definite proof. This is, oh wait, let me move my face, which is in the way. 1 second. So I don't know if I actually made anybody look at this directly yet, but this is a recommendation that was published in December 2021 that Carl Zimmer, I want to be like, I kind of am the first one to report on this, as far as I can tell. So this was like reported in Carl Zimmer's Airborne book as the moment that the WHO finally admitted that airborne spread happened, and he kind of wraps up his story at this point with this announcement. But if you look at the announcement, it's the announcement where, and I don't think anybody, I haven't seen anybody other than me report on this, what the WHO actually said was that respirators should be worn based on health workers' values and preferences and on their perception of what offers the highest protection possible to prevent SARS-CoV-2 infection, which is wild. Like, in the video, in my history video, I think what I said was like, you know, OSHA wouldn't say like respirators should be worn by coal miners based on their perception of what protects the best against inhaling coal dust, which like they might now. But yeah, so this is stepping away from agnotology. Well, actually, is Carl Zimmer constructing ignorance? Actually, I shouldn't say more about that because I don't want to get, I'm like, I want to try to get jobs in this industry. But yeah, so something else they emphasized in this was this, after this recommendation where they say a respirator should be worn before entering a room where a patient is suspected to have COVID, which is ignoring the idea also that asymptomatic spread is common. Like at this point in December 2021, they absolutely knew that like a majority of people potentially are asymptomatic, and this is, they are constructing ignorance in this announcement. Anyways, so yeah, they give this announcement and then they say, new conditional recommendation based on very low certainty evidence. They're like, well, we don't really know about this one. We're like, is there really proof? We don't know. It's not the best evidence. And what you should really focus on is your values and preferences. Anyways, let me see what you guys have said in the chat, because I kind of like went off because this makes me so mad. So Oh yeah, this Trump derangement syndrome thing. I've only first heard of this as a comment that somebody made on my recent YouTube video. It was like, seems like she has TDS, and I had to look that up. And apparently that's supposed to mean like you don't like Donald Trump or what. I was like, this is not worth my time engaging with. Is this a thing that people are actually talking about? Let me know, because I don't live in the United States. Um, this is Kiera. Your surgeon said there's no evidence. It's the same thing though. It's a affirming absence of definitive proof. Although in this point, there is definitive proof. There is definitive proof. Based on feelings, I don't identify as having lungs. Me neither. I want to be an amoeba. I'm scared of veins, actually. I have like a sort of pathological fear of the human vascular system. So I would rather be like a single-celled organism. I don't have lungs. Um, anyways, constructing ignorance and blatantly lying might be different things, I hope. Well, that's actually a question. Actually, maybe I could answer that, because Proctor talks in agnotology about, well, okay, I guess it depends on how you're posing the question, because like the tobacco industry people, I mean, they were functionally lying. Like they knew smoking caused cancer, but they were instead emphasizing other things to produce doubt. Um, when is this doc from? This doc is from December 2021. Helixo. Let's see. Yeah, I remember this court case where somebody brought home COVID from work and it killed their partner. Yeah, and it was like the judge was like, well, the reason that we can't like say that there's a like workers comp whatever injury for this is because that would be a bad precedent, which is evil. So yeah, this is, I'm gonna clean up this PowerPoint and I'll post it later, but yeah. So this document, I had to post a like internet archive link of this because it's extremely hard to find. It is extremely hard to find this document on the internet anymore because, well, but yeah, so like, who am I? I'm a science communication content creator with a relatively small following. How am I, to my knowledge, the only person who has talked about this document where they say this ridiculous stuff about healthcare workers' values and preferences dictating whether they should wear a mask? Like literally in Carl Zimmer's book, he reports this document as this kind of endpoint where it's like, and then the WHO finally admitted that COVID is airborne. And when you look at what they actually said, it was bad. And how am I the only one talking about this? Anyways, sorry, we're continuing. You've seen it, but it all pisses me off. Yeah, I hadn't seen it before I looked at this. It's very possible that other people have talked about it. I haven't seen anybody else talk about it, and I found it through like digging through a citation in Carl Zimmer's book. Yes. Anyways, okay. Yes. And then there was doing all they could to manufacture doubt on the part of the breathing public. I changed smoking public to breathing public, but I guess breathers are smoking too. So I don't know if y'all saw, any of y'all saw this, but this is from April 1st, 2020. RIP. April 1st, 2020. Fauci says research showing coronavirus can travel 27 feet in the air is terribly misleading. Why? Why is it misleading? He says it's misleading because it means all of a sudden the 6-foot thing doesn't work. It's misleading because the implications would mean that their current infection control measures are inadequate, is why it's misleading. A lot of glorifying Fauci. Yeah, this is HealXO. Oh, I don't know if you were here in the beginning, HealXO, but we were talking about John Green, and I can also combine John Green and Hank Green into one person because I don't care about them. But yeah, yes. Anyways, yeah, so this is, if you want to look at my PowerPoint, if you want to look at my PowerPoint later, this is the article that Fauci is referring to, and this is by Lydia Boroyiba. I'm not sure exactly what the correct way to say her name is, who is a MIT physicist who studies the way that like gases flow. And she yeah, she and Fauci went on TV and basically said that her research, which was extremely thorough and illuminated huge gaps in public health guidance, was misleading because of the implications. Um, yeah, so I would say, I mean, you guys can let me know, but would you agree that this behavior is manufacturing doubt on the part of the breathing public? I think so. I think it is. Um, yeah, talking about the ride or die for Fauci briefly, I opened Twitter, X, whatever, which I don't do much anymore for a variety of reasons, but I saw that, which is how I found out that there's some people like right wing attacking Fauci. And then I saw like, I don't want to name names, just like I would say like a least favorite airborne related scientist being like, I respect Fauci. I wrote him an email to say that I'm sorry that people are being mean to him, and he responded to my email. What a good guy. And it's like, something that I could talk about in the future if anybody's interested and if I have enough time is the lessons of like the AIDS epidemic and ACT UP organizing, as learned from Sarah Schulman's book, Let the Record Show. But Fauci was a fucking dick during the onset years of the AIDS epidemic as well. Like Fauci was a dick back then. Um, yeah, Heal XO, I believe in that people want to like heroes and they can't handle nuance and they can't handle. Well, I was gonna say I don't know if I have anything good to say about Fauci actually, but I mean I don't think he's like a villain. But yeah, people are allergic to nuance in this society. And then my last example of manufacturing doubt on the part of the breathing public, which I spelled wrong. Oops. Which I spelled wrong. Um, this is I'm not going to dive into the details, but this is a quote from an opinion article by Dr. Milton, who's one of the scientists I talked about in my airborne video. And he basically points out that when the hantavirus outbreak was first happening, the WHO released contradictory guidance that in a lot of cases was like emphasizing these outdated ideas of close contact and droplet stuff, even though their own report that they didn't tell anybody about from 2 years ago um literally admits that they were wrong and that close contact is not a method of transmission. um yeah. Ooh, okay, Helixo. I like the idea that yeah, people think that the only way to show that you're not a right winger is to support Fauci, and then it's like it's exhausting. Yeah, so I wanna really quickly well you guys can let me know what you think about this, but conclude on the active construction of ignorance. Well, I should move my face, shouldn't I? I should move my face over here. Do I think that individual actors within public health organizations are acting with the exact same motivation as tobacco industry ghouls? No, on an individual level, no. The tobacco industry people were definitely thinking, yeah, we need to lie to sell more cigarettes. And I think there's a more complicated chain of self-deception and many things going on with people at the WHO and public health orgs. However, yeah, okay, I wrote individual level motive and bias is probably different. But I think on a macro level, the tobacco industry executives lying about whether cigarettes cause cancer and the doubt manufactured by the World Health Organization and other public health organizations and leaders is motivated by a similar desire to continue making money or not anger governments whose only priority is for the economy to continue going up on a GDP line graph uninterrupted. Um, yeah. So, and ultimately, it's concerning that the WHO and the CDC are employing the same agnogenesis strategies as the tobacco industry and climate change deniers. And agnogenesis is the fun new word that Proctor invents to mean like the creation of ignorance. And that is probably all that I'm going to do from this PowerPoint for today, because I feel like that was a lot and I just want to hang out with you guys. I do have this article, problem while displaying link. Thanks, Canva. Okay, this is the article, liberal fatalism. It's whatever. This is a good article about creating, producing ignorance to justify inaction on the part of governments in the early COVID-19 pandemic, and we can talk about that at a different time if you guys want. It's really good. Let's see. Here's a good quote. In this uncertain time, lack of certain knowledge about specific features of the virus or effectiveness of particular measures was used as a justification for not acting. The combination of ignorance and incompetence thus provided an ignorance alibi to ensure continued political legitimacy. So that's a cool article, and we can read it. We can read it at a different time, and then I'm gonna come back, and I'm gonna come back here. I'm gonna come back here, and I'm gonna move this, the stream back to this one. Hello. Okay, I'm gonna see what you guys said. People go to extremes, misinformation. Yeah, the bots that are spreading misinformation are definitely like active construction of ignorance. Like the people who are paying for that are trying to manufacture doubt. I agree. Shirara, I agree that Fauci is just the guy. He's done some good stuff and some bad stuff I don't like, and things in between. In general, I would say I have a kind of like no heroes policy, which is a bit of a sometimes a no villain. Well, I mean, there's more villains than heroes, but yeah, I have a anti-great man theory of history policy, which includes no heroes. Like, people are just people, and idolizing them is not going to help you or them, or on the converse, like blaming all of the ills in the world on one person instead of like recognizing that that person exists in a system that has informed their actions is not useful. I'm like so far behind on the chat. Yeah, if you also if we here's where I'm gonna admit, when I was younger, I did have heroes. I did have some people I idolized and had parasocial relationships with, and there was a certain young, creative world, artistic woman whose personal life choices caused me to forever, immediately and forever, end my ability to have parasocial relationships with celebrities and create my no heroes policy. And I want to give you guys space to guess who that was while I read the rest of the chat. I feel like you guys are going to be able to get it. It's not that hard, especially if you like have seen me and can guess the kind of things that I would like. Yeah, there's okay. Oh man, I gotta scroll back. Suppose he but do complexity and nuance. Okay, yeah, I would love to talk about AIDS and what I learned from Sarah Schulman's book in another live stream if y'all were interested in that. Love the title. Okay, there's a lot of active misinformation. Oh wow, I went too far back. Panic or economic losses. Yeah, okay, seems to be agreeing with me being like, yeah, these people are not saying we're gonna lie, but they're sort of lying to themselves and being like, oh, it's the economy, it's the whatever. Wow, okay, I should probably, there's a hugga hospital, banger. Could you go back to the source name real quick? The source of what, chat? This is an old question. The source of what? Ads. Oh no, there's ads. Shit, sorry. Sorry about ads. My bad. Gives me a sec to catch up in the chat. I'll get the link. Uh, okay, let me know, please, please, LMK when I'm back. It is in the description. Thank you, Shoyo, for reading the description because I did put it in the description and just like fully forgot that I did that. Thank you, past me, for preparing us all so well for this stream. This is not an advertisement for this expensive ass water bottle that I'm not even gonna name. I bought one because I was having a lot of really bad gastro issues, and I went to see like a professional dietitian related to gastro stuff, and she like asked about what I was eating and drinking, and she was like, "You're drinking like half of the water that you're supposed to," and that's why I got this. And now it's just the only water bottle that I have, so I keep reusing this flavor pod thing even though it's empty. Um, uh, okay, wait. Uh, did you guys miss when I teased to ask you? Well, I guess you did because nobody guessed. Um, I was talking about my no heroes policy and saying that it was started or inspired in the past. Like it's not something I've already. Oh no, okay, there's a guess. Oh, Amanda Palmer would be a good guess. It's not actually Amanda Palmer because I was never a huge Amanda Palmer fan. But yeah, there was a woman in music who I had a parasocial relationship as a teen who I used to think was just really fucking cool and was like, wow, I want to be her friend. And then her personal life choices then and now made me realize that people are just people and you shouldn't idolize anyone. Uh Not ContraPoints. ContraPoints would be too indie. Hellbones got it! It's Grimes, everyone. It was Grimes. When I was a teenager, I really loved Grimes. I was like, she's so cool. She's so quirky. Blah, 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 blah. And I can literally remember hanging out with my ex at a diner. She wanted French fries, and she was like, hey, people are saying that Grimes is gonna go to like the Met Gala with Elon Musk, and I was like, that would never happen, and it did. Um, yeah, I went to the Art Angels tour in 2015. I was like, there was only like one row of people, one or two rows of people in front of me before the stage. Like I was like a meter away from her, and I was like, "Grapes, touch my hand." Yeah, I would say, yeah, pour one out for Grimes, but I think there's evidence that she was kind of a I don't want to say like there's like evidence that maybe she was kind of a surface level person who was just like into the aesthetics of weirdness and like what the aesthetics of sort of like vaguely left sounding things made her seem instead of actually holding any of that as views that she really cared about. I will not doubt she's like an extremely talented artist and producer. Like I won't sorry, I shouldn't be talking about fucking Grimes right now. You were right next to her. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so I guess maybe I should still have my PowerPoint up. I'm like, who is even still here? Um, yeah. NFTs. Dude, Grimes, if y'all didn't know, like she's not dating Elon anymore, but she had, three of his kids, and she's openly hangs out with like Curtis Yarvinch. Like she hangs out with major white supremacists who think that the United States should become a a monarchy or whatever. Like she fully is evil, or she is into some really really evil stuff. Um and yeah, like she is it's really bad, and I lose respect. I see a lot of like kind of like alt, because I like weird music. I like weird art. I mean, Grimes is, at this point is relatively mainstream, but I like, some people have said like, wow, you listen to really weird fucking music. I like weird art and music, and whenever I see like some sort of alt interesting person collaborate with Grimes, I unfollow them, and it's sad. Yeah. Anyways, they did a drug live stream. I have no idea who she was outside of Elon. The weird photo shoot with her book lagging. Oh wait, one second. Let me, maybe, is it still lagging? Let me restart stream. One sec. Oh, if it's fine now, I can also restart the stream if I need to, since we fucking know how to fix it now. We/me know how to fix it. One second, I'm gonna restart the stream. One sec. I'm back. Possibly. Um, yeah. Yeah, I also know some people who didn't know who she was outside of Elon, but like, I will I'm like defending my I'm defending my younger self. Grimes is a extremely talented artist who had like a lot of influence. I used to follow her on Tumblr. And like there are cool musicians and acts that I only know about because she posted them on her Tumblr in like 2014. And yeah, it sucks because she still is somebody that is like very plugged into like interesting upcoming artists and stuff, and she goes out and she associates herself with them, which, to be fair, like their politics suck if they're gonna do stuff with her anyways at this point. But I've had to unfollow just a number of people because they're working with Grimes. uh yeah, I can't. You're not American. Oh yeah, Grimes is Canadian. Grimes is a OG Canadian. Um, wait, I'm gonna make a poll. I'm gonna make a poll. Are you are you okay, I did the Canadian poll so we can figure out who's Canadian. Um, but yeah. There's a lot of no, but I mean, everybody, this is critical. I have to know if you're Canadian. Some people told me that they thought I was Canadian because I like used a very Canadian accent and said sorry when I did the Canada section in my airborne video, but I did that on purpose. And I'm not Canadian. I am United States American. Okay, well, now that we've done the Canadian poll, Mexican, I didn't mean Mexico is a neglected part of North America that I feel like is not brought up enough when people are like anyway. Also, America doesn't just mean US America. Something that Germans will say in like German Wikipedia, German language Wikipedia, is they say US Americana, like US American instead of just American, which they will say only American in the English language Wikipedia because like the United States really dominates the English language Wikipedia. But I've started trying to say US American as much as possible in English because America is not just the United States. Um, uh, I thought you were lesbian. Is this? Oh, is it? Wait, is that a real thing or like a Mean Girls reference? Or okay, it says Vine reference. Never mind. Um, yeah, and I know that it's a German thing because it's in German language Wikipedia, and from being in Germany or Austria, sometimes my internet defaults to German language Wikipedia, and I just like wind up reading articles about celebrities in German, and they'll be like, shit, who is an American? I can only think of Canadians. Justin Bieber is Canadian. Drake is Canadian. Uh, Name any, okay, Fauci. They'll be like, Anthony Fauci ist ein US-amerikanischer, fucking, I can't speak German right now. I, I'm not, I'm not German. I just live here. How does the no heroes policy affect your ability to enjoy art or content? It's a question from Nickel D Pickle, which is really fun to say. Nickel D Pickle, Nickel D Pickle, Nickel D Pickle. Um, I feel like it doesn't really interrupt my ability to enjoy art and content. Um, this is not to be like a you. What's happening? I restarted it. I restarted it. So I talking about like my ability to enjoy art and stuff. I'm also probably gonna go off in 10 minutes when it's 10 p.m. here. I guess it does affect my ability to enjoy art, but for me also like when we exist in this streaming economy or whatever, like streaming funds actively terrible people. So yeah, I stopped streaming Grimes. I own Art Angels on CD, and I guess I could listen to it if I had a CD player. Um, but yeah, I guess I don't really want to engage with media from like people that I think are actively terrible. If somebody is just like kind of shitty, like I don't know, I think Charlie XCX is probably kind of a shitty person, but she's not like she didn't have any kids with Elon Musk, so like I will listen to Charlie XCX music. I'm just not gonna be like, oh mother, I worship you. Um, okay, scrolling. Uh, no heroes policies. German thing. U.S. American. Lucas, where are you from? If I'm like, this is fine. Okay, I gotta scroll. I gotta scroll. Um, oh, interesting. Hellbones that they're using in Spanish in. Oh no, you're using when you talk in English on Latin America. U.S. Americans make sense. America refers to two whole continents that were named after a guy who they shouldn't have been named after, but that's like a whole different thing. Like just say U.S. Americans. It's not that much longer. Um, oh no, wait, why is it muted? Oh no. Uh, weird audio. Okay, audio not matching the stream. Lucas. Ja, Deutsch. Ich, ich wohne nicht in Deutschland, ich wohne in Österreich und mein Deutsch wird immer österreichische. Es war nicht immer so, aber ich habe schon 3 Jahre lang in Österreich gewohnt. Uh, yeah, okay. Anyways, I'm just. The audio is not working. You relaunched it, now it's German. Oh no, does it sound Viennese? I live in Vienna. This is what 3 years of living in Vienna has done to me. Uh yeah, I mean, okay, we're not here to talk about you relaunched it as German. Yeah, I live in Vienna and it's so okay, I have like a special interest obviously in like public health and the pandemic and science, but I have like the autism, like I get really intense into learning about things, but I have ADHD as well, so I just like it's a lot of different things. So I also find dialects really interesting, and linguistics, and I could talk for a very long time about like dialects in general and dialects. Oh yeah, to be clear, it's not a bad accent. Oh yeah, sorry, to be clear, Viennese or Austrian accents are not bad. I think they're really I think dialects are cool. There is no valid version of a language that's right and all of the other ones are wrong. Like that is completely nonsense, and it's yeah, it's the kind of attitude that extrapolated like leads to languages being extinct. Yeah, I know some Germans who will be like, oh, Austrians, their German sounds so bad, it sounds so stupid. And like to compare it to an American context, it's kind of like the vibe is sort of like somebody who's like from Connecticut, like making fun of somebody who's like from Texas, because of how they talk, because they're from a place that is more rural and not the center of the urban whatever, and the politics of that place might be more conservative, so it's okay to make fun of the way they talk, except it's not. Um, a fan of dialectical materialism. I love that. I love being materialist about dialects. Um, um, oh wait, Shoyo, you're also German? Well, actually, technically, if we're getting into like the classification of German dialects, almost every Austrian dialect of German is like in the larger category of Bäuerisch. So like technically Austrian German is part of a wider Bavarian dialect spectrum. But this is like we're getting into like niche Germanic dialect territory. Um uh let's see. I would love some of your friends. I'm sure I would. Like I'd love your friends who are also into language and autistic because I I love these things. Oh yeah, countries aren't real, to be clear. Borders are made up. Um, my dad was born in a town that is half in one country and half in another because of weird bullshit fake borders that Woodrow Wilson made up after World War One. Um, so yeah. Anyways, Lucas, you're German. Well, I know you're joking. I know I recognize that this is a joke. Um, yeah. So okay, what have we got? We've got German. Wait, who many? How, I'm curious. Okay, I'm like, who speaks German? I speak German. Yes or no? Um, I I speak German for God knows why reason. Um, we have a no. We have mostly no's on this. That's okay. I'm not gonna start. I'm not gonna start. Oh yeah, born here. Let's see. Yeah, that's also like the idea of like not being an ethnic German but born in a place and being a citizen of it or whatever is like a concept that I think is very alien to a lot of US Americans, and it's like they don't really even have like the language to talk about this. Uh my thing is, so was born in the United States and I grew up in the United States and I still am like very much a US American, but my dad is not from the, well, I mean, at this point he's a really fucking American dude, but my dad is not from the United States and I am a dual citizen, and that's why they let me live here. That's why they let me live here, because I have two passports. I am not a person who is economically important enough that the European Union would let me live here as a solely US American citizen. Um yeah. Okay. Let's see. Oh yeah, laughing at not ethnically. Let's see. We have, okay. You have a friend in high school who was from Turkey and raised in Bavaria. His accent was wild. That sounds like a recipe for a cool accent, frankly. Like, accents and dialects are cool. Um, yeah, I am very lucky that I am a dual citizen. Uh, I think some people have been like, I don't know. I guess in my content, like I tend to be a little bit like opaque about my personal life other than like my identity like as a disabled person and the ways that like China exists in the world as a disabled or chronically ill person interacting with healthcare systems fucking sucks. But other than that, I don't know. I'm like kind of like, who am I? Nobody knows. I don't really know. I'm like how who do people actually want to know about that? I kind of am has I feel like I kind of I put up walls and I'm like I don't want to make myself into a product. But also I like interacting with all of you, so it's like hard to know. I'm like, what should I tell people? What do people want to know about me? Um Ja som brava Slovenka. Um okay. I'm probably gonna wind down. We're gonna transition out of this. We're transitioning into can I ask you guys how you felt about this live stream? Because like I said, this was really experimental. Oh, it's gonna do an ad. It's gonna do an ad in a minute. I will say I'm probably gonna earn like 70 cents from the ad or something though. I'll pause it, but I can travel back to 1960 and buy a chocolate bar with that. Um, um, yeah, okay, wait, let me pause it. Okay. Okay. Oh no, did the ad start? Uh, okay. Let's see. Sorry about ad. We'll wait. Um, okay. So, wait. LMAO. So, uh, tell me if the ad is over. Tell me if the ad stopped. Because I don't, are there still ads going on? Uh, Good intro for people who don't have epistemology and a good job of tying in the production of knowledge. I love talking about the production of knowledge. Um, would you guys? Oh, you didn't get an ad, bro. I don't know. I don't understand how this shit works, so I just stopped talking for no reason. Um, so yeah, like, would more live streams, please? So I can talk more about the production of ignorance. I will say that I put a decent amount of work into preparing this, which is not like wasted because it was a lot of fun and I can also do this presentation again. Would you guys be down for live streams that are like a little more casual, where maybe I just like take in one article or one source that's a little shorter and we break it down? I was kind of asking myself, I was like, I don't really know if people want to watch me read a PDF live, like that's not interesting. And so for me, there's kind of a balance of like, how do I balance like, look, like if I was like being paid a living wage to prepare really interesting live streams, then like I would love to do this all the time. But also I'm like a underemployed person who needs to find more work and income streams. So there's a balance of like, okay, like how much time can I, spend making, doing like a free, I wish I could do only free entertainment, which is like, I'm like, everybody, we're all passing around the same $20. If by any chance you're not passing around the same $20, I do have a Ko-Fi where I can be tipped and stuff. Okay, wait, let me see what people are saying. Mammal similarities game. Okay, give me 3 mammals. Somebody give me a comment with 3 different mammals and I'll tell you how the mammals are related. I'll tell you which mammals, I'll tell you which 2 are more related to each other and which one is less related. Okay. We are Let the Record Show live stream. Okay, so we like this in terms of topics, so I could do Let the Record Show live stream, but sure, it would also be cool. Okay, I also enjoyed this as a Saturday evening, and if you guys would be down for me to do this like weekly, and maybe sometimes it's more prepared like this, and maybe sometimes it's more of a casual hangout with a couple of sources or like relevant topics from the week, that would also be fun. Um, just let me know. If anybody ever wants to like talk to me directly, or Instagram DMs are usually the best way uh to send stuff. Okay, bye Kiara. Okay, should we? Okay, beluga, kangaroo, chimpanzee. Oh, that's easy. Should I draw a diagram? um I Wait, okay, what was first? Platypus, dolphin, anteater. So a dolphin and an anteater are more related to each other than they're related to a platypus, but a platypus is also a monotreme. So basically, like, if we go to mammals as this big top category and it splits off first into 2 groups, the weirdest, most divergent group of mammals is monotremata, which is the ones that lay eggs, aka platypuses and echinoderms. And then the next group is Theria, which is everything else, aka marsupials, and then everything that isn't a marsupial. So if you give me a list of 3 mammals and one of them is a monotreme and the other 2 are not, the other 2 are going to be more related. Is this interesting? Is this interesting to people? Do we like this game? This is what I do in my head sometimes instead of sleeping. But a thing about dolphins that's interesting is that a dolphin is more related. Okay, wait, let me tell you guys this. A dolphin is more related to a cow than a cow is related to a horse. This is true. Okay, bye, Lucas. Everybody's like, go the fuck to sleep. Um, uh, okay. Yeah. Anyways. You wouldn't have guessed that. Dolphins and whales, cetaceans, are within the category of, are, like, they are related to and technically within the category of even-toed ungulates, which is things with hooves, with and an even-toed amount of toes. So that's like cows, goats, sheep, elk, moose, whatever. Their closest relation within that group is hippopotamuses. But yeah, there's two types of ungulates, aka like hooved animals. There's even-toed ones and odd-toed ones. And the odd-toed ones is like a much weirder, smaller group that's horses, rhinoceroses, and tapirs, I think. But yeah, so like anything that has a hoof and that isn't a horse is more related to a dolphin than it's related to a horse. So this is what I'm doing. Okay, guys. Thank you so much for coming to this edition of Animal Facts live stream, where I talk about how animals are related, but only mammals, because I don't have the mental space to learn about a different kind of animal. Wait, I have to tell you guys something. No, wait, sorry. I'm so sorry. I have to tell you guys one thing before I go. Which is how I got into this. How I started learning about this. Okay, there's a daily guessing game called Metazua, which I play every day because I have autism, where you guess animals, and that's how I started learning this. And we're gonna do the daily Metazua together, and then I'm gonna fucking go off and go get ready for bed. But wait, let me pull this up on my screen. Is this gonna work if I do? No, wait, that's not right. Where is my live stream? No, okay, that's this. Let me share something else. One second, y'all. I'm like, it's really important for me to share ad source, add window capture. Oh no, wait, I know where one second. This is really thrilling shit that I'm bringing to the table. Okay. I got it, everyone. I found the Metazua game. So this is something I do every day, on account of the autism. So you know this site, you know the plant version. Oh, could I please link the presentation? I need to make a version of it that is a PDF. TBH, I'm probably gonna do it tomorrow. I will link the presentation in the description of the video tomorrow. I could have prepared that earlier, but I didn't. So wait, there's a mosquito. Oh, it's so gross. Okay, whatever. Sorry. I killed the mosquito, everyone. I love animals. So when I play Metazua, I always start with squirrel, which has given me a really good sense of how all animals are related to squirrels. Okay, bilateria. That means that that means that the only way that this animal is related to a squirrel is that it has bilateral symmetry, which means that it's probably a bug. And if it's not a bug, it could be a crustacean or a mollusk. I'm gonna guess monarch butterfly. And, okay, yeah, so it's a moth or butterfly. This is the point at which I don't really know a lot about bugs, so I'm gonna guess a moth. I don't know. Okay, so it's a moth. I'm just gonna guess a different moth. Because there's not that many moths here. Silk moth. I did it, everyone. This is the kind of I'm like this is probably a lower effort. This would be like a lower effort live stream. Do you all think there's people who would want to watch me play Metazua? Um so 2 days ago it was squirrel. 2 days ago I guessed squirrel and it said you won. Which is what happens if you guess squirrel every day, is that one of those days it's gonna be squirrel. Um See, I don't like mosquitoes, but I will say that mosquitoes are a really important source of biomass in the environment because a lot of stuff eats mosquitoes. Biomass being like the total sum of all of the living things out there, and that moves up the food chain because if we don't have mosquitoes, we don't have things for the dragonflies and the bats to eat. Um, and so like as much as I loathe having mosquitoes around, and mosquitoes are a huge source of disease, I love bats, and I also don't want the food chain to collapse. There's a reference to that in the airborne history, actually. That I put so much weird shit into that I don't know if anybody even caught, but there's like the moment where I pretend that there's a mosquito plushie stuck to my neck, and then I pull it out and I like put a sticker on its forehead, and then a animated mosquito. Oh, it's this mosquito. It's this mosquito right here that I'm having move around. Shows up on the screen for a second, and for 1 second, a little thought bubble or conversation bubble pops up that says, I am an important source of biomass in the environment. I eat and am eaten in turn because I'm don't know when to stop. Um yeah, there are bats in Vienna. I follow Fledermaus Österreich, which is the bats Austria. Scientific definition of an animal is uh a scientific definition of an animal, I think, has to do with multicellular organisms that I don't know. I don't know what the definition of an animal is. Um, Humans are animals. It is true. Yeah, humans are animals. Humans are within the metazoa. Um, Anyways, okay. So now you've seen me do that. You're a pro. Yeah, I'm like, is this how I would make money as a live streamer? Is that I would be like, I would play Metazua and I would tell people, give me 3 mammals and I'll tell you how those mammals are related. Do we think that this is a way that I could, as somebody who's currently like, wow, I really need to get a job or make more money, like I'm applying for lots of jobs right now. Is this, could I be like, or instead I could start a live stream where people give me a list of 3 mammals and I tell them how those mammals are related, and somehow that makes me money. Um Anyways, okay guys, thank you so much. I'm gonna try to stream again, if not next week, then in 2 weeks. And it was so much fun to hang out chatting on Twitch. I don't really know much about Twitch because I'm gonna be honest, I'm kind of ignorant in the realm of live streams. If you guys think that Twitch is better, I can go there. I don't really know. Um, Replace Hank. Yeah, I would love to replace Hank Green. I'm willing to say it. I'm better than Hank Green. This is gonna be recorded for posterity. Yeah, anyways. So thank you all. This was super fun. And yeah, we can continue talking about ignorance or other topics soon. And yeah, leave me a review. I don't know. If anybody ever wants to talk to me, I'm on Instagram DMs the most. And I do love to chat. And I do also have a Ko-Fi. Yes, okay, thank you guys. I think we concluded that I'll do this again and I'll figure out something next time. Wait, scientific definition. Yeah, humans are. Oh my god, wait, sorry, you gotta add. Okay, guys, I gotta go eat. But we'll do this again soon. Okay, bye. End the stream, YouTube.